On today's episode of Locked On Wild, which Central Division players make the All-Central team?
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up? Welcome into another episode of Locked On Wild. We are your daily Minnesota Wild podcast, and we are your team every day. We thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. On today's episode of Locked On Wild, Isha Jahromi of the Sota Pod joins us as we take a look at the All-Central team. We'll see which teams were stacked with roster-worthy players and which teams maybe got somebody as an honorable mention. There will be plenty of potential contenders. We'll whittle it down to a full roster and see who we come up with. My name is Seth Topal, your daily Minnesota Wild insider. As mentioned, Isha Jahromi gracing us with his presence here on our usual Friday slots, which means we're through yet another week. And Isha, we are yet another week closer to the start of the NHL season. We're about a month out from preseason games. In fact, I think it's less than 1 month, like by a day, to the first preseason game for the Minnesota Wild. And so State Fair time, Labor Day weekend coming up. Those are the final passages of summer. It's hockey time after that.
So I have a question for you. Are you so Midwestern that you're going to eat those disgusting looking fried ranch bites?
No.
Okay, so because Hoppy told me he's gonna dip them in ranch.
No, I enjoy ranch on other things, but
like I'm down to dip cheese curds in ranch, and I'm not even a big ranch guy. But deep fried ranch, I mean,
no.
Isn't it just gonna burn the hell out of your tongue because like the ranch is gonna be like boiling hot after? It's just
I just don't get how that works. Like, so you make like a ranch ball and you batter it and I don't get it, but
it looks disgusting.
Like if I'm going to the State Fair to get something, I'm getting a lobster roll for one.
Ooh, I didn't try that last year.
That food court that they have that has the fish restaurant.
Okay, I had the alligator. That was good. The alligator was good next to one of the main stages. That was good. The deep fried alligator bites. I don't even remember what my favorite thing was there last year. Probably just the beers. There was a lot of fun beers.
Yeah, they do make some really good ones. And you know, if you're doing some beer sampling, as people can hear on the Sota Pod, it's a great spot to find some new ones.
I was like kind of on a not on a budget, but like I brought a certain amount of cash and I told myself, okay, you have to, you only have this much to spend, or else I would have spent, my entire rent on food. And honestly, though, I was so full at the end of the day, I probably couldn't have. Actually, no, I'd take that back. I definitely could have forced more in there, but it was good that I stopped when I stopped and. Yeah, I reached my limit. So
you have to set limits at an event like the State Fair, because if you don't, then it's like going to the grocery store when you're hungry. Like you end up going multiple different routes, and so
I just throw my list behind me and go, no, I'm gonna get that and stuff. No. This is what I came here for. But yeah, no, excited for another State Fair. Excited for preseason. Excited for Riley Height Watch more than anything, because I'm just rooting for this kid, man. I'm rooting for this kid.
I think the entire Minnesota Wild fan base is, because that would be something that you would keep your eye on every game. Like we have Kirill to do that, obviously. And I think it would just be something where every time he was on the ice, people would be like, what is he going to do? What's he going to do next?
Well, just in preseason too, right? Because like obviously we're going to be watching Ogren. Obviously, there's other prospects who are going to be watching when they get like their look and whatnot. But like, I'm pretty sure Kuznetsov and Ogren are going to be on the team. Like I said, maybe Ogren gets some AHL time to start, but like most likely he is going to be on this team this season. I'm way more bullish about that. But Heidt has to play his way onto the team, and if he does, if he leaves no doubt that the Wild have to keep him up here in the National Hockey League versus send him back to the CHL, not even send him down to Iowa, like send him back to the WHL. He could force the Wild to make a move to keep both him and Ogren on, and I think that move would please a lot of our fan base who listens to the Sota Pod and Locked On Wild in one of their, one of Johansson or Freddie Gaudreau would be one of those who would have to, be gone.
Wholeheartedly agree. And, we'll get a few weeks to a couple weeks of like training camp to kind of get everything acclimated, then preseason games. And we're crossing our fingers to hope.
I don't know what the fan base will be more excited about, Heidt on the team or one of those two guys off the team. I'm a glass like half full kind of guy. I'm more of a positive, just sports fan in general. So like, I'm going to be happy for Heidt. Not hating, but anyways. Well,
it'll be a full glass, I think, if that happens. We'll find out. We'll find out in less than like 6 weeks. We'll have our answer. So it's getting exciting. But for today, we're just gonna throw together. You see this in college football where they do like the all Big Ten team or the all whatever other conference. And I thought it'd be fun to do this for the Central Division because there are some really, really good players in this division, but there are also some teams where it's like you maybe get one guy as like an honorable mention and that's it. And so I think what we'll do to start, Isha, is just go through and kind of talk each team and just say, well, here's who could potentially be on it. And then we'll whittle it down from there. But like,
honestly, Seth, I picked a player from every team. I'm not gonna lie. So
yeah,
like,
I did.
There are some teams that I have there's teams that I could have picked more players from easily. And there's teams where I like maybe could have left off of the board, but like there are some teams where it's just like, okay, I'm only taking one, and that team is Chicago.
Yes, thank you. That's a great spot to start because that just tells me we both have the same exact player. Because let's be honest,
we're taking Connor Bedard.
Yeah, and I know Chicago's made some moves to bolster their lineup, but if we're talking about like best of the division, all of those guys on their roster, they're good players. But they're not like the standouts that you would put together for like an all-star team.
Yeah, if we're picking 13 forwards, 7 defensemen, and 2 goalies, we're picking Connor Bedard as the one forward. I'm not even picking one defenseman.
No. It was only one player for me too. Connor Bedard is the only choice that makes sense. So that's an easy one. We can just gloss right over, much like many teams do. Just gloss over Chicago and move on to the next thing, which is the Colorado Avalanche. In Colorado, they have some like 100% absolutely ins, but I have one player I wanted to ask you about too. See, Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Cale Makar are hands down. No question.
Yep.
All three of them are on the team easily. How do we feel about a player like Devon Taves, who is, pairing partners with Makar? And in looking at the defensemen throughout this division, like there are a lot of really good top-level guys. It seems like every team has at least one really good shutdown D pairing. But after that, a lot of these teams get kind of thin defensively. Yeah. And so I threw Taves in there, not on my final list, but just as a player to mention, because I think he kind of gets slept on a little bit.
Yeah, I think a lot of his points come from playing with Makar, but I do think he's an awesome defenseman. For me, as my final defense like pick, it was between him and Brodin.
Okay.
And I picked Brodin just because I like his skating better.
Yeah.
But if you put Brodin next to Makar, Brodin would have 50 points too.
Well, and I'm glad you spelled it out that way, because in the same circumstance, I would take Brodin over Taves too. And as we'll talk about as we kind of flesh out the rest of the list, like I said, there are some real good top end defensemen in this division, but some of these teams, you look at their depth and like their third pairing and second pairing, even in some cases, and it's like there's not a lot of butter on that bread.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Nashville's defensive core is good, but they're not flashy like point getters. They're just very good defenders, right? Mm-hmm. Shoot, you could say the same thing for like the Dallas Stars outside of Heiskanen, outside of Lindell. It's like you just have solid guys on the back end there. I mean, actually, that's pretty much about it.
So we're in agreement. MacKinnon, Rantanen, Makar from Colorado. There are a lot of names for Dallas, and so I'm intrigued to hear who you had on your list from the Dallas Stars, because the list that I put together, and I haven't yet fully fleshed out like my roster, but I just put names that were worthy. I have 6 Dallas Stars on my list. So let's hear, who did you put on the all central team from Dallas?
So I have Jason Robertson, Rupe Hintz, and Miro Heiskanen. I had Wyatt Johnston as I only picked one like 14th like wild card honorable mention. He was that guy.
Okay, perfect.
But that one, between him and a certain new Nashville Predators forward were the ones I went back and forth on.
Okay, that's good to know. And that leads me to another area that I think we're in full tandem on, because a name that I had on this list for consideration from Dallas was Jake Ottinger, but I already know that we've got the goaltending covered for the division.
The division has good goaltending, right? We'll get to it, but if either of these guys' names weren't in the Central, then Ottinger is the third string for sure.
And the best part about it too is it's not even a question. Like the two names in front of him, it's like 100%. There's not even room for a little bit of a debate.
And one of them is my favorite goalie in the NHL right now.
Yeah, and then we're on the right track here. I like this.
I picked two guys from Arizona though, which I think will surprise you.
Count me intrigued.
Yeah.
I have one, and so we'll go through the rest. We've got Minnesota, Nashville, St. Louis, Utah, Winnipeg. We'll go through the list, and then we'll kind of talk about the lineup, and we'll talk about honorable mentions as well as we construct the all Central team.
I can't believe I called Utah, Arizona, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I just did my part by not even acknowledging it and just glossing it over. I knew where you were going with it, but I just decided to keep us. I'm
gonna fumble that a couple times, like before I watch them play.
I'm sure I will too.
Shoot, I still called them Phoenix, man.
Well, we'll talk about Utah, the rest of the bunch, as we take a look at the All Central team as we continue today's episode of Locked On Wilds after this. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by FanDuel. Folks, you have heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. NFL season is right around the corner, so don't miss out. head to fanduel.com/lockedon today. Welcome back to today's episode of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. Make sure to check out Locked On NHL for your second listen today, so you don't miss out on any of the news surrounding the eventual trade. It finally happened, of Rutger McGroarty to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Locked On NHL's got you covered there, plus all of your other big headlines throughout the National Hockey League. Make sure to check out Locked On NHL wherever you listen to your podcasts. And also make sure to check out the Sota Pod. Isha, State of Hoppy, Spoke Z, Fellowship of the Rink, Judd's Buds, you name it. Sota Pod has it going on. And
Brett Marshall just joined our network too. Him and I are going to be doing a show, Analytics versus Eye Test. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Starting mid-September. We're still working out the name, the logo, and things like that, but it'll be a good one.
Okay. I just found my new favorite Sota Pod offering, I think, because I feel like I'm at the crossroads of that argument all the time. Like,
I like to think I'm in the middle until I see some of these numbers of guys where I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You know? So call me like old school, but I'm definitely an eye test guy.
Like when there were some analytical, whether it be Freddie Gaudreau or Marcus Johansson, some analytics that were like, hey, turns out they had pretty good seasons. And I'm like, what metric?
See, Gaudreau, I'm not on board with that, but I guess I'm like the Wild's biggest friggin' Johansson defender apparently, and I'm not even saying he had a good season. I've just been saying he hasn't had a horrific season like everyone said. But yeah, so like I said, sometimes we will agree, sometimes we will disagree, and sometimes we'll have opposite probably takes. So it'll be fun because like I'm not a guy to say analytics don't matter, and despite me being a guy who probably leans more on the eye test, like I feel like you kind of need both of them to have the full picture.
You do.
But Brett and myself more so lean on a different side. So it'll be, and we're friends. So it'll be good to, to gauge certain topics every week or just certain things. So how I think the show is going to go is he's going to bring a topic, a player, a situation, a stat, and then like fourth the show for the main topic of the show. And we're going to dive into it.
I'm telling you, if you guys do anything, and this is probably because I just finished Suits recently, if you guys turn this into any sort of like a legal type thing where you have the prosecution and the defense, I'll pay for it. Like I would be that in. So
hey, well, you're welcome to jump on anytime.
Consider me intrigued and in.
You can be like the mediator, be like, I see your guys' points, but you're both wrong here because X, Y, and Z.
I'll just be the judge, and periodically I'll just say overruled or sustained or finish your line of questioning. I'll just be the comedic relief.
See, I'm the guy who's going to say, finish your checks.
Oh, that's awesome. I can't wait to see that. So let's go to, we talked about Chicago, Colorado, Dallas. Let's go to Minnesota because we were talking about this right before we hit record, and we've got we have a difference here, and I like it. But we've got one obvious name for sure, like definite obvious.
Kaprizov is on the team, yes.
Kirill Kaprizov makes the team. He'll be on the top line with Nathan MacKinnon, like not even a question. It'll probably be him, MacKinnon, and Rantanen, which is disgusting. But those are the problems that we get to deal with because we got one of the best players in the division. Now, beyond him, I'm feeling confident in saying Joel Eriksson Ek makes it.
Yeah, that's my second forward.
Okay. So we're 2 for 2 there. I had Matt Boldy on the list as a name to discuss.
I think, you have a 30 goal scorer who puts up 60 points. You have a 30 goal scorer who puts anywhere up between 50 and 60 plus points. Like yeah, he's going to be in the discussion. But I left Wyatt Johnston off my list. So I love Boldy because I think Wyatt Johnston is, I mean, he's not, you can make the argument he's better. I like his game a little bit more. But they're kind of in that same tier, right? So
yeah.
I left Boldy off my list.
If put in a position to pick between the two, I would probably take Johnston too, because he's a center. Like that makes the difference for putting a team like this together. So
that is true, but I like in this case, I feel like there's these guys are so talented. Like, yeah, you're gonna pick a few like solid centers, but some of these guys could probably just play wing next to an elite center well if we're putting the super team together.
Probably even look better doing it. And then
look at Stamkos, for example, right? He can play both, right? And he has.
We'll get to him in a second. I had Brock Faber on the list too.
Yeah, me too.
And from there, it sounds like you had a different player for the Minnesota Wild on your list that I did not have on mine at all.
Well, I had Brodin. I put Brodin on my list. Again, it was between Taves and Brodin. And I like Brodin.
That's a good call. I would have, as I said, I would have gone the same route and gone Brodin. Nashville. I had 6 on the list here.
Oh, wow.
As names to discuss. So I had Stamkos.
That was that was the hardest one for me to put on the list just because of the age factor.
Yep.
But yes, he made my forward group.
So I had Stamkos, Marchessault on the list. I had Forsberg on the list. Those two are probably kind of,
I had Stamkos, Forsberg. I didn't put Marchessault on my list.
Okay. Josi is a definite.
Lock. One of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League.
Juuse Saros is a definite.
Yes. My favorite goalie in the National Hockey League.
Yeah. He's so good.
He's so good, dude.
And then I put Brady Shea on the list again, just as kind of a name to consider when filling out the back end of that defense.
I like him. I feel like Shea and Brodin are interchangeable.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah. By the way, he was on the last Fellowship of the Rink show. Him and Nate Schmidt sat down with Hoppy and Joe Smith, and it was fireworks. The first thing, by the way, Nate Schmidt said, it was all Gopher alumni episode. The first thing, before they even started their intro to the segment, he's like, "I'm just here to hit bombs."
Nate Schmidt is
a legend.
Yeah, 2,000 out of 10 from a.
I love that guy so much.
Yeah, he's A++++++. He's gonna win himself a cup.
It sucked. It didn't. Yeah, I know. It's like everywhere he goes, he just misses it. Washington, Vegas. Oh man, and it sucked as a Canucks guy. Like it sucked. It didn't work out for him in Vancouver. Just a cup of coffee there, but electric player, and electric person.
Would you be shocked at all if he takes a 1 year at some point with the Minnesota Wild to at least play here, as having that be his hometown team? I've thought about that myself.
I wouldn't be shocked, but I don't know. I still think he did. I don't think he's one who is who's in I'm going to take a pay cut to play at home category yet. He's still very, I would say he's above serviceable. He's still a good, he's not just a bottom pairing guy. I know maybe he doesn't put up a ton of points, but he's more of I don't even know, two-way defenseman, but energy guy as well, because his skating's awesome.
Yeah, I could see him doing that in a couple of years, maybe.
Because he's 33?
He's 33 right now.
Yeah, I think 2 more years of making some money, and then after that, it's okay, if you want to play here, if there's a spot, then yeah, but
because that decor is going to be on the young side here in a couple of years. You never know.
What a guy to have on the back end. There's a locker room guy, man. Because everywhere he goes, the teams and the players, nothing but good things to say about him. And listening to that interview, and again, it was a tough go in Vancouver. Everyone was kind of not happy with that situation then. But even then, he was the guys loved him. His interviews were great. Everybody who I knew interviewed him loved him and said he was as positive as he could be under that situation. And listening to this podcast, yeah, he is a beauty.
I'm telling you, don't rule it out. Like it could happen at some point, and I kind of at this point hope we see it. But
yeah, as far as the guy coming home and playing on a cheaper contract, like definitely a possibility as like his last destination for sure. But I still think he's got some gas left in the tank.
Agreed. And as somebody from St. Cloud, I just root for St. Cloudians. It's just how I roll.
No, he's awesome.
St. Louis. Can you make a case for anybody other than Jordan Kyrou on this list?
Oh, Robert Thomas.
Touche.
Yeah.
Did you put him over Kyrou, or did you have
I put
both?
him just both on. Yeah.
Both. Okay. Yeah. It's a good call. That was one name that I was glossed over.
Yep.
And then Utah, I had Clayton Keller, but you had two names, it sounds like.
Yeah, and this one might be the hottest like take, but I really like Sean Durzi. I really do. I think he is solid, man. Like on a bad team, he's able to put up points from the back end, and it's not like he gives up defense to do so. He's not like a goal scorer by any means, and a good chunk of his assists are secondary assists, but that's because he's involved in the play, and he doesn't just burn his defensive partner to get involved in the play. He's still really young, and if you look at him coming into the league, first year did well with the LA Kings. Second year did well with did even better with the LA Kings, and his third year did even better on a worse team. So I really like this guy's development. He's a right shot defenseman who can skate, who has good defensive abilities, but also a keen eye to get involved in the play and play offense as well. So yeah, I picked him. Honestly, I've been really impressed. I didn't watch his first season, 2021, 2022 that much, but I watched him play quite a bit in his second year, and because of that, it sparked my interest to just keep tabs on him this year, and I thought he was awesome.
Yeah, that's convincing enough for me, and he was a big piece that they sought after to try to kind of help with that decor when they were first getting it started. So
yeah, and he's only a dash. I know like plus minus isn't be all end all, but like again on a team that. I don't even want to say that this last year Arizona was bad. They were fine. Like they had bad stretches, but like they weren't bottom of the barrel, right? They were competitive in spurts throughout this season. But even so, like I said, he didn't give up a lot of defense. He just got involved in offense and didn't burn them a lot either.
Let's talk Winnipeg. I had Scheifele on the list. I had Connor. I had Morrissey and Hellebuyck.
Oh, we differ a little bit here. I had Ehlers, and Morrissey and Hellebuyck.
Ehlers, Morrissey. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
I like Scheifele. I just think you and this one's hard too, because I mean you could even make an argument for Kyle Connors too. I do think Ehlers is the better player. I do think Scheifele is more, if you want to use the word like gamer, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think Ehlers is I think Ehlers is probably the most talented player on that team.
Well, and like from a Scheifele perspective, are you going to beat out the likes of MacKinnon, of Hintz, of Eriksson Ek? Maybe you can make a case with Eriksson Ek, but I think like Scheifele was tough to leave off the list. I'm actually glad you included him, because like and last year he had a monster year. Like it was awesome. I'm not saying that like it's a one and done year, because he's been pretty consistent throughout his entire NHL career. And I know Ehlers didn't put up as many points as him, but I feel like on this type of super team, Ehlers would be that piece you can throw on the wing, and just like anybody he plays with, he's dominating. I like that. We'll talk about kind of what the lineup would look like, and also some names left off the list, even on both of our lists. There are some other names I'm sure to consider. So we'll discuss that as we finish today's episode of Locked On Wild after this. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by Indeed. Folks, we are driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Final segment of today's episode of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. Reminder for you, coming up on Sunday from 12 to 3, the live edition of Locked On Wild. You can join a full cast of characters: Alexis Pearson, Alex Micheletti, both Isha and State of Hoppy will be joining us as well. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll have guest questions. We'll have it's just going to be a good vibe. 12 to 3 at Zamboni's on 7th, right across from the X. We'll see you there, and come to have a good time. It's going to be a lot of fun. So let's look at this lineup to finish things off, Isha.
I don't even know where to start. All I know is X probably getting fourth line center, but like it's a super team, so it's not even a slight at him.
Yeah, it's not a knock on him whatsoever. It's MacKinnon, Rantanen, and Kaprizov for your top line. I think pretty easy. Beyond that, I mean, you can go really any direction. I suppose would Bedard be on line too?
Sure.
Probably you can put him lower.
Robertson's on his line though, because that would be nasty.
Yeah.
And Forsberg, maybe. I know they're both left side, but like again, at this point, doesn't really matter what side they play. It's super team. If you had like Forsberg, Robertson, and Bedard,
that'd be gross. And then you've got you've got Kyrou, you've got Ehlers, there are limitless options for how this thing could look. Defensively, I mean, Heiskanen, Josi. I feel like Josi is probably the way to go, and then you go Faber, Heiskanen, maybe.
Well, I think Faber and Josi would be unreal too. And again, I'm just talking about more of their styles versus like what side they usually play, because like Faber stayed home a little bit. And Josi was the one who attacked. Like, my God,
this would be a nightmare.
Brodin, Makar, like,
oh boy,
because like I know Makar's skating is incredible, but like Brodin is an unbelievable skater as well.
Yeah,
yeah, dude. Morrissey and Heiskanen, Dursey and Morrissey, like it's
some gross. There are some gross options for this. For this squad. I'm just glad that the Wild have a few options on this list. Now, as far as...
Who are you starting, though? Are you starting Saros or Hellebuyck? Because I'm starting Saros.
I think I go Saros, too, because I feel like with those two, I feel like Saros can be the table setter, as the goalie. If you get into a situation where Saros gets kind of roughed up, I feel like Hellebuyck is better to come in as the number 2 guy and like
save the day.
Shutout.
Yeah.
I think that would be how I would do that for the goalie perspective. And it just would be lethal. I don't even want to think about power play with this group because
It's
insane.
basically Team Canada Olympic team at that point level of power play.
They'll be operating at like I don't know, 90%.
Yeah.
Just gross. Just gross.
And I know we have a mix of like every nation on this team, but like this is the style of this is the type of team. This is the type of level of team that like the Americans are gonna have to deal with when they play Canada in the Olympics again. I hope you know that.
I have been trying to kind of block it out in my head because
hey, USA will be good too with all the Hughes brothers, both the Tkachuks, Matthews. Like this might be one of the best American Olympic teams that we've seen in our lifetime, Seth, which is crazy to think given that like, you know, some of these teams with some of these teams in Sochi, well, I guess Sochi for the United States didn't do that well, but in Vancouver, like they were damn good teams as well. But this American team coming up might be the best we've ever seen in our lifetime. Still think Canada kicks their ass though. Not a big deal.
You know, I'm still Team USA. You know me.
Well, I mean, you're American. I
would expect nothing less. Yeah. Well,
I can't wait because like we're doing this exercise for fun, but in 2 years, like we're actually gonna see super teams again, and like Sweden and Finland are no joke either, right?
They'll be in the mix too.
Yeah. No Sedins this time around, but you got, for example, I mean, man, you got Pettersson in there. Forsberg still humming in 2 years, I'd imagine. Like, dude, it's gonna be sick. It's gonna be awesome.
Can't wait.
Ogren, who knows where he's at in 2 years? Maybe he's like next level as well.
Be nice.
Kaprizov, Olympic athletes.
Time will tell.
They're not allowed to play. Well, I mean, in 2 years, let's hope that war is over in 2 years. For many reasons, more than just like our hockey fandom, but if not, we're gonna see another Olympic athletes of Russia. Except they ain't winning gold this time, walking over everybody else. And Germany ain't getting to a medal game. I'm sorry, boys. Your time is done. Just
pencil Canada and the U.S. into the gold medal game. It's
that matchup to lose, man. Right?
Time will tell.
At that point, does silver even mean anything?
No.
Because that's the thing about these tournaments, right? Like winning bronze, I feel like means more than losing and getting silver. You know what I mean? Because the bronze medal game is it's maybe saying just as competitive is a little bit of a stretch, but it's up there because you're playing for something at that point, right?
Yeah. It's you're playing for gold, and if you don't get it, you are disappointed. So
remember Elias Anderson throwing in the World Junior throwing his silver medal into the audience?
I don't want it.
So he threw and he was, he was not a good sport at all, but he threw it into the audience. And I forget who they lost it to. But a guy in a Swedish jersey caught it and then took off the Swedish jersey, and underneath it was the team they lost against. It was savage. I forget who they lost to. I don't know if it was Canada or the States or if it was like Finland or something, but still. Yeah.
Savage. Olympics are almost, for the hockey world, almost back.
Yeah. Thank God we've had World Juniors these like that wasn't affected. Shout out to the IHF. You do a lot wrong, IHF, but at least you've kept our World Juniors going. None of this IOC trash and player insurance and all that stuff. It's like, nope, we'll take care of them and we'll make sure that this tournament goes on.
We got it.
Yeah.
That's all we got for today's episode. You can check out my appearance over at the Sota Pod coming up here as well before the weekend. So enjoy, and we'll see you on Sunday for the live show. For the listeners, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week, which we have for you every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.